Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Today we got some new red roses for you. We have Graf and Lennart, also called Love's Promise. And then we have Deep Secret, also called Mildred Scheel, a very old Tanta rose from the 70s. And here we have Princess Trust. And if most of you are like, why is Princess Trust not more red? Then believe me, I understand your confusion, but this rose sometimes fade out if it doesn't get a lot of sun. And the rest of the roses are just here for stand-in. If you want to know anything about any of them, feel free to write in the comments, but I'll be focusing on these three today. But yeah, here we have Graf and Lennart rose. Love's Promise. Honestly, I'm not getting a lot of fragrance on that, which is really surprising me because most people online are writing it as a strong fragrance, but I'm getting like a 6 out of 10 with some spice notes in there. Not really something I would call a strong fragrance. So I'll keep you updated if that changes, but for now I don't really believe Graf and Lennart is that strongly fragrant, to be honest. It is a pretty double cup bloom, as you can see, more shallow cupped. But for now I'm not getting that much of a powerful fragrance from it. Let's move on to Deep Secret or Mildred Scheel. And let's have a whiff of this one. Oh yeah, here we have some fragrance. Very potent fragrance. Oh yes. Very, very potent fragrance. I think this one is an 8.5 on fragrance. Let's have a whiff of our red Parfum de Provence, which was a clear 8.5. Yes, it is definitely Deep Secret. It is an 8.5 for sure. This one is more raspberry fragrant, where there's more, I think there's more damask in this one. Oh yeah, definitely more damask in this. Still some raspberry notes in there, but definitely more damask. Honestly, that is a very, very good rose. It is also one of the most healthy red roses in my garden right now. Extremely good health on Deep Secret. It does want to get tall though, I noticed that, but the health on this has actually been quite amazing. It has been far the most healthy of the red roses I've planted. So I really like it on health also, even though it gets a bit tall. Let's try Princess Trust here. Oh yeah, that is a really potent scent, to be honest. That might actually be a 9 for me. It is very potent. I kind of scented like a Gertrude Jekyll. But to be honest with you, even though this is a very potent scent, I'm not really going to recommend this rose to you because, in my opinion, it is not the most healthy rose. But it is very powerful on scent, this climber. But again, you're dealing with the same issues often as you're doing with Gertrude Jekyll, just that this one doesn't really make a pretty form, in my opinion, for a climber. But it is definitely very scented, this one. Very, very scented. Princess Trust. I can't remember if this is a Harkness rose. I think it is. But I could be wrong. And I also really like red Parfum de Provence, but not as much as velvet fragrance. What's really funny for me now have scented Deep Secret is when I'm scenting Deep Secret. And honestly, it gives me a lot of the fragrance in velvet fragrance, the Friar Rose. But I also scented Fragrant Cloud a week ago. And Fragrant Cloud is like the other half of the puzzle. That's what's so funny now. I've scented both the parent plants to velvet fragrances. I can scent both Deep Secret and Fragrant Cloud in velvet fragrance, Well, fragrances like it has taken the fruitiness from a fragrant cloud, and it has taken the damask and the more red berries and notes from a deep secret, and then it has just turned the volume up like 20% or something like that. So that's so funny to scent the two parent plants now, when I already know well the fragrance. Honestly, I think this is a deep secret. I think this is a stellar red rose. It is such a healthy rose. Now, most of you will probably go out and try to buy Mr. Lincoln, Graf and Mildred Wood, and these other red roses you hear so much about. I'm here to tell you that that might be a mistake, and I'll give you some reasons why. Graf is not always the most healthy rose. It tends to spend a long time in the budding phase where a lot of things can go wrong. It also doesn't tend to give you a lot of flowers. And even worse, when you take the flowers inside in a vase, they tend to shatter. Then you have something like Mildred Wood. Mildred Wood is often not that good on health. It has a lot of health issues, and you'll spend a lot of time babying that plant, trying to keep it alive, and for very few blooms at that. Then you have something like Mr. Lincoln. The problem with Mr. Lincoln is not the fragrance. It has an amazing fragrance. The problem is often the winter hardiness of it. Mr. Lincoln is not always the most winter hardy. And the same as something like Jubilee, Papa Mayland. Jubilee Papa Mayland is not always the most winter hardy. So a lot of these roses, even though they have a potent perfume at around an 8 to a 9, they come with a lot of issues. So in my opinion, something like Deep Secret gives you much better health, a very powerful 8.5 perfume, and honestly, it looks gorgeous in the blooms. And really, I think it is something like that more people should be aiming at growing, because it is a healthy rose with a beautiful fragrance. Then you also have something like Velvet Fragrance by Freya, as I mentioned earlier. Velvet Fragrance by Freya is the most scented out of all of them. And I of course know that because I grow all of these in my garden. I grow Mr. Lincoln, I grow Graf I grow Mildred Wood, I grow Papa Mayland. I really name a red rose. The rose community believes it's very fragrant, and I'm probably growing it. That's why I feel very confident saying that Velvet Fragrance is most likely the most powerful fragrant red rose you'll find. But I think even Velvet Fragrance is doing better than some of these roses. For one, it is more frost hardy than something like Mr. Lincoln and Papa Mayland. And often, I would also say it seems more healthy, in my opinion, than something like Graf and Mildred Wood. So I think even there's some potential in Velvet Fragrance for sure. So what I'm really trying to say here is, even though the rose community can sometimes rave about some roses, I think it is very important for you to remember that the rose community tends to rave about things that are in the current season, things that have happened within the last 20 years. And because of that, something like Velvet Fragrance and Deep Secret, which are very old roses now from the 70s and 80s, can sometimes be forgotten when people are doing all these comparison videos and talking about roses. So often what ends up happening in the rose community is the roses that have been released within the last 20 years are often the only ones being talked about, because those are the only ones people can remember. While someone like me that often goes back and read old rose books, sometimes from the 30s, sometimes from the 80s, someone like me will sometimes notice that there's specific sentences where old rosarians during that time, described a very perfect rose. And something like well, fragrance was one I discovered from an old rose book from the 1980s, where it was described as the most scented red. So really be careful when you're out there and taking advice, because people tend to stare themselves blind to what is in season. And often those roses tend to get a bit more hyped than they maybe should be. On the final note, I'll say Deep Secret and Velvet Fragrance are wonderful red roses. And if you want to grow red roses, I think those are excellent choices to start with.